What we're fighting for is for the U.S. dollar. The real reason America is so rich is the world, since 1974, has been required to trade in U.S. dollars. Now, the reason this is spooky is because today we're at war.
Госпожа Клинтон избрала такую агрессивную риторику и агрессивную позицию в отношении нашей страны, в отношении России. А господин Трамп, он напротив, он призывает к сотрудничеству, во всяком случае, в деле борьбы с терроризмом.
One more thing to understand. Many economies, such as Russia and all that, their economy on taxes is based upon $100 oil.
That's right.
So if oil today is around $40 as we speak, suddenly that means that's like you making a $10,000 a month paycheck, and suddenly you come home, you're only making $4,000. So this drop in oil price was virtually an oil war going on throughout the world right now. So you're suddenly making $10,000 a month, and you come home and you say, congratulations, you're now making $4,000. That's driving Russia to war, because they have to go to war to distract the upset of the economy inside the people there.
Well, Russia is a strong country, in spite of economic hardship. We're still quite a strong country that is capable of preserving its own national interests, and will do whatever is necessary to keep our national interests safe.
China right now is cutting a deal with Russia, doing their best to ship Russian oil into China. So this whole thing is setting up, in my opinion, possibly for war. We're already at war.
Повторю еще раз, приносить в жертву российско-американские отношения в ходе внутриполитических событий в США считаю вредным, контрпродуктивным. Это происходит не первый раз. Вот практически, вы обратите, не смешно уже даже. Но если кто-то хочет конфронтации, это не наш выбор, но, значит, проблемы будут какие-то. Нам бы этого не хотелось. Нам бы хотелось, наоборот, искать точки соприкосновения и вместе решать проблемы глобального характера, перед которыми стоят и Россия, и Соединенные Штаты, да и весь мир.
Russian-U.S. relations may be heading closer to a flashpoint for the first time in decades.
And News Channel 5's Rebecca Schleicher shows us why experts say the presidential election will play a key role in the recent resurgence of Cold War tensions.
As a 5-year civil war wages in Syria, old foes square off in a proxy war once again.
And so Russia and Iran have thrown their weight in to support Assad against most of his people.
The U.S. is backing the rebels, rising up against Bashar al-Assad's oppressive regime.
A professor says Russia has taken advantage of what Putin believed was a weakening America to push its influence around the world.
Russia says NATO's enhancement of military presence on its eastern side will not remain unanswered. Russia's permanent representative to the alliance said NATO's activities are clearly aimed at military force projection in the Black Sea and Eastern Europe. Alexander Grushko added that the biggest military buildup along Russia's borders since the Cold War has no anti-terrorism value and is not bolstering European security, rather it's creating additional obvious risks. He also warned of NATO and the United States' active exploration of the Black Sea waters with multifunctional combat platforms which have a serious strike and missile potential.
Russian President Vladimir Putin is set to visit Turkey for the first time since Turkish forces shot down a Russian military jet.
The Republican presidential candidate said, "You're not fighting Syria anymore. You're fighting Syria, Russia, and Iran, all right? Russia is a nuclear country, but a country where the nukes work, as opposed to other countries that talk."
Some breaking news for you now. Yes, a Putin ally is now warning all of America that they better vote for Donald Trump or face nuclear war. Can you believe it? Now, this is coming from Reuters, all right? They report that Americans should vote for Donald Trump as president next month or risk being dragged into a nuclear war. That is according to a Russian ultra-nationalist ally of Vladimir Putin who likes to compare himself to the U.S. Republican candidate. His name is Vladimir Zhirinovsky. He's the gentleman in the far right there behind Vladimir Putin. They state here that he is a flamboyant veteran lawmaker known for his fiery rhetoric, and he told us to Reuters in an interview that Trump was the only person who would be able to de-escalate dangerous tensions between Moscow and Washington. Now, if you've been following the campaign, as I know you have, then that seems to be making the most sense because, as we know, Trump wants to establish a communication line and trade and just have communication, all right? Not just constant aggression. I mean, how many times have we heard the term Russian aggression coming out of Hillary Clinton's mouth?
Well, the media, the government, even the central banks are pulling out all the stops to make everything look wonderful so that Hillary Clinton can get elected. If things look dodgy, it's going to help Donald Trump. So they want things to look as good as possible. However, some of them are starting to sound the warnings of reality. We now have a red alert being issued by HSBC on the stock market. And as Business Insider says, this is the ultimate warning signal.
Now, the 7 stages of empire, just as a reminder, started with sound money, and then a country adds layers of public works and social programs, and then develops a massive military, and then puts that military to use, and to pay for the war, it debases its currency supply, which causes a loss of faith in the currency, which then leads to a currency crisis, and gold does an accounting of the expansion of that fiat currency supply that happened over all those years of the first 5 stages. We are in the 6th and beginning the 7th stage.
All right, when disaster strikes, as it is expected to in Florida and elsewhere, the government's always there. FEMA's there. We're going to talk to the FEMA administrators shortly. But, you know, it's not as if we have a lot of money for this thing, putting it quite crassly. We're running a big deficit. We've got almost $20 trillion in debt. And now globally, word is that the whole world is, no pun intended, underwater. 152 trillion in debt.
Sorry, the IMF says the world's reached a record level of debt, $152 trillion. That's more than twice the size of the global economy.
You know, in 1971, of course, Nixon took us off the gold standard. And at that point, then now our dollar's not backed by anything. What do? So in 1974, the U.S. goes to Saudi Arabia, and they say, look, we need the dollar backed by something strong. And here's the deal. We will give you all the arms, we'll protect you. All we want to do, you don't have to pay us any money, nothing. All we want you to do is, we want to make sure that anybody who buys oil from you has to buy it in dollars.
U.S. dollars.
U.S. dollars. Once they did that, once they made that agreement, and Saudi Arabia was shocked. They thought we'd want more than that. So that's all you want? You just want people to buy our oil in dollars? Yep, that's all we want. Once they did that, now you have this huge demand for dollars that wasn't there because once it was taken off the gold standard, right? So now we have this huge demand for dollars because now we call that the petrodollar.
Right. So it went from the gold dollar to the petrodollar, and today the world is on the dollar standard. And what that meant is, let's say Japan wanted to buy oil from Saudi Arabia. They had to sell us Sony TVs and Toyotas, so we'd send them dollars so that they could buy oil.
That's right.
So it's not about oil, it is about money. And we're at war now because the U.S. wants to protect the U.S. dollar. Now, the reason this is important is if we go to war and the UN, Saudi Arabia says we're not going to trade in dollars anymore, the U.S. comes down or crashes.
Out of monetary crisis, you very often see the political landscape change dramatically. It's the middle class of a country that defines the country with their vote. They're the largest sector of any country, about 70%. And a currency crisis like a hyperinflation wipes out and impoverishes the middle class. And they become filled with fear. And it's very easy for somebody to come in and prey on that fear. And dictators arise out of hyperinflation. And this is one of my greatest fears as far as the United States goes. I think that, we all have to be very, very careful and very watchful for what happens in the future.
They knocked Trump 2 months ago saying, bomb the hell out of ISIS, take over their oil fields, blow them up, that'll cut their money off, we can fix them in just a couple of weeks, which is totally true. That's a no-brainer, and I'm not even a military tactician. That's what you would do. That's what the generals were saying. They went, oh, you're an idiot. Then we wait, Putin comes in and makes Obama look like a complete moron, and now they're saying Russia's the new moral center of the world. I mean, wow, you talk about a disaster.
And when you look at the world economy, you look at the war in the Middle East, you look at China and all that, which person of all the candidates, including Bernie Sanders, Hillary, and the rest of the Republicans, which one has the experience, but more important, my Jewish friends say the chutzpah, the horsepower to take them on? And right now, I'm from Hawaii, Obama's from Hawaii, very smart guy, nice leader, but he's not a powerful leader. So we're getting walked on all over the world. And when you have a weak leader, there's two types of leadership. One is tyranny. Now, if you have a weak leader, you have anarchy. Today, we have anarchy all over the Middle East. That's more dangerous than a tyrant. And a lot of it, when I look at our leadership, and I do include George Bush in this whole thing, we've had weak leaders, and we're now in anarchy all over the world. I think right now we need a tyrant. And Donald Trump, not that Donald is a tyrant, but he's closer to a tyrant than, let's say, Carson. We don't need brain surgeons right now. We need somebody who's a strong leader. Otherwise, this anarchy will spread.
As we've been reporting, conservative leaders are outraged after members of Hillary Clinton's campaign staff mocked Catholics and evangelicals. WikiLeaks' latest release of hacked emails shows her campaign chair, John Podesta and John Halpin, calling Christians backwards and unaware. House Speaker Paul Ryan is blasting those comments, saying all Americans of faith should take a long, hard look at this and decide if these are the values we want to be represented in our next president. Ryan says the emails reveal the Clinton campaign's hostility towards Christians.
The Financial Times of London and The Economist and The Washington Post, they all say globalism's in trouble. People realize we've been robbing everybody. If Hillary falls, just like the Brexit pulled out of the EU, this will cause a chain reaction, bringing down world government. And so they say in the WikiLeaks emails, look them up for yourselves. Global government's in trouble. We got to keep people dumb. We got to keep them distracted. We got to keep them in the dark. We got to keep them low information. But it's not working. What do? And they say it's time to go to serious measures, cultural, demographic warfare. That's all this race war crap, and 20-something movies the last few months coming out about black people being oppressed, and opening old wounds, is to create destabilization. This is scientific. And the scientific technocrats that know that Trump wants to bring back real prosperity and isn't out to get this country, they are totally against him, and it's never been cleared. Come on, folks, these are facts. You can't be delusional and just ignore them.